Banker and executive editor of The Story. So
Hi,
President
Martha.
Trump indicated to our Ed Lawrence yesterday that he may be prepared to get very tough with the IRGC. Listen to this exchange here quickly.
I wanted to ask you, Mr. President, about Iran and on Iran. You came to the conclusion that you couldn't negotiate with the IRGC. Does that mean that you might wipe them out like you did ISIS?
Yeah, it does. We will see what's happening. If you're not going to do it the way I'm doing it, you're never going to make a deal with them.
Wipe out the IRGC in the way he did ISIS. I mean, that would be quite an escalation in what we're seeing in this conflict.
Yeah, indeed it would. And we know that the president held a very important meeting at the White House in the Situation Room on Tuesday night, surrounded by Secretary of War Hegseth, Secretary of State Rubio, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Kane, discussing what the options are. You know, when you look back, I think it's always important with this Iran issue to sort of take a big step back and look at what has happened so far. You have the June stealth attack on the nuclear facilities within Iran. Then you have the February 28th attack, which wiped out level 1 and 2 of the theocracy and the mullah government that runs, the theocracy that runs Iran. So there's been a tremendous amount of degradation of Iranian strength over that time. As David Ignatius wrote yesterday in the New York Times, he believes that the regime is on a one-way street to disappearing, to dissolving. But it's just a big question of how long it takes. You know, a president has to make very difficult decisions. That's why it's the hardest job in the world. And President Trump has some very tough decisions in front of him right now because he wants diplomacy, understandable and noble desire. But it may be that the elimination of this regime will take a larger commitment of U.S. military force. And that's the struggle that he has in front of him right now. We're going to hear some pointed questions about that, no doubt, for Caroline Leavitt as she returns to the press briefing room today after her leave.
One interesting development, Martha, overnight, possibly a give on the part of the regime. Take a look at this. The president put this out on Truth Social. He says Iran has allowed a U.S. citizen who was wrongfully detained in December 2024 under the presidency of Sleepy Joe Biden to leave the country. She's now safely outside of Iran in good condition. The U.S. appreciates this gesture of goodwill by Iran. Do you buy that? Do you think it's a goodwill gesture on their part?
Yeah, she had an interesting, as I understand it, Jillian, she had a sort of a detention order. She was not being held in a facility or in Evan prison or any of those. She just couldn't leave the country. That was the detention order against her. And apparently, according to some reports, that expired a short time ago. And the question was whether or not it was going to be renewed or upheld by the Iranian government. Of course, it's always good news when an American comes home who's been detained in Iran. And there are a small handful of people who are still there who may become part of these negotiations as well. Great news, obviously, that she's here, and obviously a good gesture on the part of the Iranian government.
I mean, obviously, it's good when a hostage is released or somebody who's being detained is released, but it also, you know, this fits into the long history of Iran trying to play for time and trying to take pressure off by, oh, we're going to do this good thing here, when really they have no intention of changing their ways. J.D. Vance said something kind of puzzling on Joe Rogan's podcast yesterday, suggesting that if there was regime change or the regime fell in Iran, it could precipitate an enormous refugee crisis. Listen to this.
What is in our interest? How is it in the United States' interest to have 94 million desperate people flooding into Europe, flooding into the United States, to have, you know, sort of the terrorist infrastructure that can get established when you fan terrorists all over the world? We've run this experiment before.
That really puzzled me because 90% of the Iranian population, which would be just slightly shy of 94 million people, want this regime to be changed. They want to build a new country. They don't want to leave. Now, obviously, there may be some people who leave Iran, but what did you make of that?
Yeah, you know, I think that most Iranians hope to take their country back from this regime. They would like to rebuild it to what it was prior to the Ayatollah being flown in under French governmental escort from Paris into Iran after the fall of the Shah. So I think that most Iranians, the majority of Iranians, of course, these numbers are always difficult to tell. Clearly, there is some support for the regime, and we saw that in the streets during the funeral. But I think most Iranians do not want to be refugees. They want to actually go home to their country in many cases and rebuild it.
That's exactly right.
All right, Martha, thank you. We'll see you at 3 o'clock. Appreciate
Great to
it.
see you
Thanks,
guys.
Martha.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.